Welcome to What's Next. My name is Aki Anastasiou, and it's a pleasure to have you with us and joining us. One of South Africa's top business leaders and a company that's been responsible for us staying connected during this lockdown is, of course, Vodacom. Vodacom have an interesting story to tell. We want to hear about their business during lockdown. We want to hear about their challenges. And it's just a great pleasure to welcome one of the pioneers, I should say, and one of the leaders in the telecoms industry in South Africa, the Chief Executive Officer and Executive Director of the Vodacom Group, Shameel Joosub. Shameel, good day to you and welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Aki, and thanks for having me on the show.
It's lovely to see you, Shameel. How has the lockdown been treating you? I see you work, you're not in San Francisco, are you?
No, I just thought, you know what, I would have been in San Francisco. This is normal time of the year that I normally go and do investor road shows and so on.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm kind of using the imaging to kind of create the feeling like I'm there.
Yeah. So, as the CEO of Vodacom, have you been back into the office? What have the last kind of 90 days been from you? Has this been the new normal, conducting business via video conferences? Have you been to the office? How have you been running this company in the last 90 days?
Well, it's actually been quite interesting, and to be honest, Aki, a little bit of a mindset change even for us. Personally, I was always skeptical about having lots of people working from home. I mean, there was obviously, I always thought you could do it for a lot of outcomes-based people, but it wouldn't really work if you tried to do it at mass scale. And yes. I'd say that's really been changed. In the middle of lockdown, we were at 95% of our people working from home. Today, wow. Still, we had 90% of people still working from home. So, the offices are like completely deserted, which is quite interesting. And it's actually been the busiest time for us. So, and it's actually been working very, very well. So, I think it also has opened up our eyes to a lot of other opportunities that now present themselves.
Yeah. Shameel, when you say 90% of your team, how many thousands of people are we talking about that are working remotely at Vodacom?
Well, officially we have 5,000 people, but there's about 12,000 people on the campuses throughout the country every day. Pre-lockdown. And only, so I'm counting in, including the contractors and so on. We now have only 10% of people that would normally be on campus. The rest of it is just empty.
Shameel, it's interesting. I've been speaking to a few business leaders, and they all are asking this question. Just before the lockdown started, if I had to say to you that 90% of your staff would be working remotely, would you have said it was possible or impossible?
No, completely impossible. And yeah. I think, as I say, actually coming out of it, you start to realize, well, hold on, there's a lot of different opportunities here that start to present itself. The workday's changed. It's VCs like this, basically, from early in the morning to late at night. The other trend that I think personally that's changed is there's no cutoff. You're more readily available. So, yes. So effectively you're having calls, I'm finishing at 10, 11 o'clock at night now.
Absolutely. I'm sure you're finding you're working a lot harder. Well, listen, it's extraordinary that you say that the impossible was made possible. And we're just talking about the Vodacom staff. Of course, Vodacom provides the backbone for most, many organizations that are now using your connectivity to do business. And I find that interesting. What have you seen happening on your network since the lockdown started?
Well, interestingly enough, of course, we saw a big increase in traffic. Large increase so we're growing by about 100% of traffic year over year. Wow. So that's quite big, and almost 20% more traffic from pre-lockdown to into the lockdown. And then surprisingly, in the month of May, for some reason, voice now is the highest ever trends as well. So in April, voice was kind of down, but in May, for some reason, people decided to talk a lot more. So that was so interesting.
That's so interesting.
So
Shameel, did you see a lot of, I mean, I'm sure you did, in terms of video streams? Is video the biggest occupier of that network, the data that's going through your network?
correct. So large portions obviously coming from video streaming now, or video conferencing as such. So video conferencing is grown quite significantly, but also entertainment, right? So things like Netflix, Vodacom's own video play, and some of the video solutions on video streaming. Yes. YouTube is another example, have grown quite significantly during this period. But also the use of
Well, Shameel, you and I have discussed 5G and the spectrum in length at the various My Broadband conferences. I'm sure that you were happy when you were allocated a bit of spectrum to roll out a little bit of your 5G commercial network, which I have tested, and I've literally been blown away by the speed of it. Granted, I'm one of the first few users on it, but just down the road here near Megawatt Park, I was testing and I was downloading speeds of 400 megs. It's just like an astonishing technology. Can you tell us about the 5G allocation that you've been granted in the spectrum? I know it's only until November, but where does Vodacom stand with 5G at the moment, and how's the rollout going?
Well, I think, look, it's early days still, because I think the ecosystem still need to evolve in that more and more phones will come with 5G embedded into it. And as more phones come out, that then ensures that the network needs to be there for us to be able to roll it out. So we do try and do it in cohesion, if you can put it that way, with the devices and the availability of 5G devices. So example would be 5G iPhones, and these type of things become a bigger part. Another thing, of course, is the costing around phones. And as the 5G devices become cheaper, what that then does is it ensures it becomes more affordable for people to adopt it. And I think that will also push much faster the adoption of 5G. And of course, there's also the fixed wireless opportunities as well around 5G. As you say, we've launched it, Aki, with the temporary spectrum that we've been given. But remember, we've also entered into a relationship with Liquid, where we will be using some of their network, going forward as well for 5G. And so that would be one. But one is very hopeful that the auction will happen soon, and that 5G permanent spectrum will be allocated. I think the 700, 800, 3.5 spectrum is really crucial in terms of 5G rollout, and especially once you've got low band spectrum that can be used for 5G, it enables a much bigger rollout and a lot quicker. So I think what we're doing at the moment, I'd say this year is more about understanding the technology, making sure it's there. So you won't have as many sites yet, but as the devices are improving, as the costs are coming down, that's going to push. I think in the years to come, you're going to see a lot more sites being rolled out in 5G, like we went through the 3G, 4G transition. That will happen 5G as well. The benefits, of course, is that it's a lot more real time. That's one, which then enables new businesses, technology options, these type of things. That's the one. So it's low latency, and also the faster speeds that provide a lot of capability. And then finally, the biggest advantage around 5G is that, in my mind, it gives you the ability to emulate what you can do on fiber today. Of course, it will keep evolving in its own right and getting faster and faster. But this helps you to basically have a technology that's more compatible to fiber and to provide unlimited type offerings, which you can't do, which you can do on mobile today, but it can be quite damaging when you try and do it, because you need a lot of capacity, and in the end, from the ended service.
Well, I mean, it's good. I mean, I think it's actually pushed government, and I think this whole lockdown has just forced businesses to rethink how they do business, and it's accelerated a lot of things, hence the granting of this temporary spectrum. I'm glad to hear that you're hopeful that the auction will take place pretty soon. Do you think we could have this wrapped up before the end of the year?
Well, I think ICASA yesterday in Parliament again confirmed that it will be done before the end of the year. So it looks like there's a definite willingness to ensure that it is done, and that an invitation to apply will be even issued now, in the next 2 weeks or so.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, I think that will be hugely positive.
Yes.
At least it gives us the ability to plan and make sure that we're ready for it. And I think for me, South Africa's always been there at the cusp of these new technologies, and I'm worried that in both in 4G and 5G we're lagging a bit. 4G we launched, but we launched on refarmed spectrum. And on 5G we need to be up there. We need to be amongst the leading countries as these new technologies get adopted.
I mean, Shameel, you talk about the handsets that are now coming. I mean, I've been using this 5G handset over here, which has been extraordinary, the 5G speeds that I've received from it. But if your wish is granted and you get the allocation, in terms of your forecasts, you don't have to share them exactly with us, but at what kind of penetration do you expect 5G to have in the next, say, 36 months across the country? If you had your wish and you had your spectrum and your rollout could start, and please also tell us how much it's going to cost you as a company. I imagine that it's not going to be a cheap exercise.
No, because it's a completely new technology, right? But I can not inconceivable that you're sitting at about 40% penetration within the next 36 months. Remember, beyond that, it's really about the device pricing coming down, because one of the things you're also going to be careful of is sometimes putting too much of a new technology out and the device is not catching up. So as an example, in 4G, we, as networks in South Africa, I'd say we've built out a lot faster. And today, you're sitting at 96% 4G coverage and so on. But the device uptake on 4G has not been there because of the affordability issue. Mm-hmm. So affordability of devices is a big part of it. So as the prices erode and the prices and the technology becomes more mature, if you like, prices of the devices drop. Then that allows you to more rapidly deploy. So right now, the emphasis would be, as that drops, you'll start to push more, let's say 5G penetration. But you also have to keep the lights on, as I call it, because you have to keep still investing in the older technology, 4G and 3G and so on. Ideally more 4G than 3G, or more 4G than 2G, but those continual investments have to happen. I mean, some of the things that could help is government taking a stronger handle on things like 2G devices coming into the country. Mm-hmm. Because if we really want to push the digital divide, we need to stop the inflow of older devices, which then kind of keeps exacerbating. It's like having an old TV versus a smart TV.
Right,
you want to do the new smartphones out so that you can bridge the digital divide a lot easier going forward.
Yeah. And Shameel, I mean, you've been running an extraordinary organization. You've faced many challenges, the data pricing, data must fall. As an organization, you've kept reinventing yourselves from moving from voice to data, etc. How does Vodacom do it all the time? I look at your share price; it's moving sharply, and yet you're delivering the profits as an organization. Vodacom is a very complicated beast, yet you're returning great results to your investors. How do you keep doing that?
Well, I think one of the things is just being able to look at what lies beyond the horizon. So, looking at 2 or 3 years out, what are the changing trends? How does one then embrace some of those trends? And how do you position yourself well to be able to take advantage of that? So an example would be investing into new businesses, the acquisition of IoT.next, which is becoming a fast-growing opportunity for us. It was very good tech, but the business needed someone to come in, properly fund it, and maybe take it to the next level. And we've linked that in with the broader Vodafone group. So it's created a number of opportunities. We're now selling our solutions as far afield as California. So, it's those type of picking up some of those opportunities and saying, what do we build? What do we buy? What do we, and where do we partner? I also think the new norm is partnerships.
Yes.
So you'll notice that we've done the partnership with AWS because we believe that will help us to further transform our own hosting and cloud services, and the coupling of the two together puts us in into a much stronger position.
Yeah.
Financial services. Today most people don't realize that we move 2.6 trillion rand to our platforms, and we have 52 million financial service customers across the continent. Now, one of the big focus areas for us is financial services, an example, across the continent, but also particularly we'll be launching a new platform this year in South Africa, which I think will create a number of new opportunities again. So it's constantly picking up these new things, investing in new businesses, investing in new areas, and also sometimes diverting your capital to some of these new growth areas, as well as making sure that you can continue to let's say get the maximum benefit from your existing. Our position has always been, Aki, that we have fewer markets, well capitalized, and therefore we're proud to say that we lead in all the markets that we operate in. And the reason for that is not by accident, it's actually by design, because we put a lot of capital in. We make sure that we have fewer markets, well capitalized. And I think sometimes when you've got a very big portfolio, it's more difficult to achieve that.
Yeah. Well, you've certainly identified those markets, and you're really capitalizing on them. And I think that AWS is just a great partnership. So Shameel, the lessons that you've learned as a CEO of one of the biggest telecommunications companies in the world, and delivering this connectivity to our country, what have you learned as a CEO in the last 3 months? And I mean, it's difficult to predict what it's going to be like going forward. They'd say this is the new business normal and this is the new way of doing things. How do you think Vodacom will look in 12 months from now? And what are those lessons that you've learned as a CEO of running your particular company?
Well, I think a number of different things. First and foremost, the onus and responsibility as a big corporate is to help. And so, helping with the pandemic in every way we can, whether it's from data analytics to, the phones that we've provided to the health workers and the free data and so on, helping with education. Yesterday we announced that we're launching a new platform in partnership with Microsoft for education and so on. And so being part of that, I think, is the first lesson. And really, being purpose-led means that you do your part to help society. So that's one. And we're doing that whether it's within M-Pesa, we're doing that across all our markets. We're zero rating M-Pesa in a number of countries to be able to help a government cope and so on. And to be honest, it has a negative financial impact on us. But I think what we're achieving is much bigger than that. So you're not in business for today. You're in for the long term. So that's the one part. The second thing is embracing technology. And I think, the mindset that I always think, and I think initially when I said it to the staff, they probably thought it was a bit crazy, right? I said, there's nothing we can do about the pandemic besides helping and assisting government wherever we can. But what are the opportunities around it? And they all kind of looked at, is this guy well? What's he talking about? And I think what we've managed to do is capture some of the opportunities around COVID. So example would be front-ending the network investment so that you're better prepared and you can cope with the volumes through the period. So that's one. But also embracing new technologies. There's certain things that are coming out of this, which allows you to then change your mindset. We were talking earlier about so many people working from home. But it's now made us realize that we can run our call centers from home, and we can target different parts of people that we wouldn't have been able to do. So, example, stay-at-home moms, disabled people, students. They may have 2 hours or 3 hours in a day. So if we can create flexible working and Uberize it, so you can come in, log in, basically be an agent for a couple of hours. But also, as we're building some of these new businesses, if we can create it in a way that opens up a new part. So, example, say we're selling insurance is a big business for us now. So, if we can go out and sell insurance and create more agents, which we would normally wouldn't have done.
Yes.
And so these type of things start to create new job opportunities where people can work from anywhere. So I think it's those type of opportunities, realizing that everything's going to be digital. So you better invest more into M-Pesa, into financial services, into South Africa, into digital services. How can we help? What are those problems that you're trying to solve for? So an example would be helping the universities. On the one side, providing free access to their portals and so on. On the other side, if you want to do VCs and so on, providing a good rate. So it's also about picking up the opportunities around. Customers are under pressure. Personalize the offers to what I call the segment of one. So you'll know that we have a very good AI personalization tool called Just For You. 65% of what we sell is personalized to what I call the segment of one. So, what does Aki need? What is relevant for you? How can I give you more value? And in the process, extract a little bit more revenue out of you. So those type of, I think, become, it's really embracing the technologies and so on. And I think as you do that, it creates opportunities. Another example is Next. Some of the tech that we've built allows us to go into a building and save up to about 20 to 30% of the power consumption. Merely by putting sensors onto everything and controlling the HVAC using AI. So, now we're selling those solutions as far afield as California. So, I think it's those type of things that as companies, you need to start saying how to embrace it. But also saying, how do I reskill my staff, if need be, so that they can take advantage of some of these new technologies.
That's amazing. I mean, so you're continually reinventing yourselves all the time. And finally, Shameel, and thank you very much for your time. I know that you've been stuck under lockdown, and one can't go to a restaurant, you can't go to a gym, you're like stuck in almost like a prison. So what has Shameel Joosub, the CEO of Vodacom, been doing to switch off and take time out? What have you been doing to kind of get your mind off things and relax?
Well, what I'm doing now is, trying to firstly make sure I exercise. So on the treadmill and so on. So not uncommon to hear me on the treadmill while we're having a call. And I've decided, look, I can't give up the exercising, because one of the things about staying home is that you'll end up eating more.
Yes.
And your weight starts to suffer.
I know what you're talking about.
So now I'm making sure that I get my exercise in, even if it means that I'm walking on the treadmill with the iPad stuck on top of it. But also switching off, right? So switching off from the perspective that at some point, so watching a lot more Netflix, reading more, these type of things. I think you got to keep your and then interactions. So interactions where you're engaging with people like yourself now over VC, so that at least you still have that. Not quite the same as us sitting in the room and having a cup of coffee, but certainly you got to keep yourself safe.
Favorite series on Netflix at the moment?
Well, the one I'm watching at the moment is Money Heist.
Oh yes, I've got it. Everybody says it's brilliant, so I need to start watching it. You're enjoying it? You're gripped by it?
Yeah, it's quite exciting.
Good stuff. Shameel Joosub, thank you so much for joining us, and really good to see you. Keep that treadmill going. You've inspired me. I know that I put on a couple of kilos during the lockdown, so I need to get back into that exercise mode. Wishing you well and future success with Vodacom, and I really hope you get that spectrum you want, and that it is finalized at this point when we chat again. I hope it's finalized very soon, because we desperately need that to unlock incredible value in the economy of this country at the moment. So, Shameel, thank you for your time, and be well and stay safe.
Thanks, Aki. Thank you.